Hi, welcome to today's healing. I'm Kristen, and if you're joining me today, that means that you are ready to make a change in yourself and the world around you. We're going to be discussing Carl Jung's 8 points that let you know if you are an extremely rare personality. He did say that only less than 5% of these people are in the population. But I feel that since he came up with this in the early 20th century, and with all of the psychologically advanced and spiritually advanced people being born in since that time, that it has got to have been raised up to a higher percentage. I don't know what that would be, but maybe it's 8%. I just don't feel that it's 10% yet, but it doesn't mean that that can't happen. Now, he did work in the early 20th century. He did found a school of analytical psychology. Carl Jung was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud, but they had completely different viewpoints. Sigmund Freud was based more in the sexual nature of everything. It's like the sexual nature drove him to believe whatever he believed, and everything seemed to bounce back to that sexual concept, where Carl Jung was developing our spiritual side of things and the psychological connection to our spiritual side. So let's get into these 8 points. This is very exciting, and congratulations if you find yourself being even part of this, because this means that you will have direction and how to move forward with possibly and hopefully all 8. I do hit these, so which led me to know that I could possibly be an extremely rare personality. But I also am 62 years old and have been working on this for decades. And also, I was born this way, but I had a lot of crap to work through in all of these past years in order to really be open to what it is that I truly am. So let's get into this. Okay, number 1, you experience emotional depth that feels supernatural. You don't have feelings. Feelings move through you, carrying layers of meaning that others can't access. You feel the unspoken tension in the room before anyone speaks. And I know that a lot of you already do this. You carry emotional undercurrents of every interaction because your psyche is wired for depth. For you, everything illuminates pathways to understanding that others can't even see. And I know for me, I have for years said, I see layers deeper than other people around me, and I have to consider that because I expect them to respond in a way that I see it. And I have to remember continually that the people I interact with are souls experiencing a human condition. And that is me as well. I am a soul experiencing a human condition. But they don't see layers deep like I do. And so I have to navigate this world in a different way than most people. And possibly this is you as well. So, number 2, you question reality with sacred curiosity. You dig deeper than the surface layer. Shallow conversations hold no meaning. And this is me. Like, if people want to, talk about spending 5 minutes figuring out what to wear, I'm just like, okay, why did you do that? What goes deeper than that? And, a lot of people, it's just surface chatter. And, for me, I want to know why. And this is number 2. It's asking why at a deeper level, not what, but why. Why is this person doing this? Why are they reacting this way? What caused them at a deeper level to subconsciously go this route? And this is what number 2 is. We ask why at a sacred level. You have the ability to see beyond current limitations. And if someone is limiting themselves, or even yourself, you have the ability to dig in deeper into your own psyche and self and figure it out and say, what is stopping me from doing what it is that I want to do? And then you push forward. You envision what could be different, more authentic, what could honor the full spectrum of human potential. You want to help people move forward, and you're going to dig in deeper to their psyche and their actions and figure out a way to help them unblock and move forward. And here you push forward for change. Number 3, you've developed conscious independence. This isn't a defensive mechanism. It is an achievement. You've learned through experience that depending on others for your sense of worth is psychological quicksand. Now, maybe in the past, as I had in the past, I wanted people to like me. I wanted to be everybody's friend. I wanted them to see my self-worth. I wanted praise, and it's not like that now. It's all inside of me, and I am able to find my own worth. And what everybody says else, I know that I can't take it personally, and I don't take it personally. There are times when I'm still vulnerable. And then I have to remember, you can't take it personal. And then you have to wonder, what is it about that person that is causing them to say these things or act this way? It is back onto them and their issues. It has nothing to do with you, except somehow you're reflecting something that they don't like about themselves, or a past incident that, they are still stuck on. Jung called this process individuation, the psychological journey toward becoming whole. And this feels really good. I am not there yet, but I am diligently working on it. You face your shadow, your ego, all the parts of yourself you've been taught to reject. And people, want to shut down the ego. I've talked about this before in other videos. And the ego has got to be our friend, but take a back seat. It's the ego that drives our issues and that wants to take the forefront. But if you make friends with the ego, you can't, you can diminish the ego, but you can't annihilate it or get rid of it completely. Otherwise, we would be totally void or totally enlightened, which I congratulate those that are, but I am not there. Maybe someday I have the potential. You enjoy your solitude, but this is not loneliness. It's your sanctuary. This is psychological wealth. I know for me that I require a lot of alone time, a lot of quiet time to regenerate. Sometimes when I come home from work, I climb into bed at 5:30 and I read or, watch a podcast or something. But I don't sit in my chair and turn on the TV. I just go lay in my bed and regroup and regenerate, because this is very important for me. And a lot of people live in chaos. I don't have a family around me. It's just me. I do sit with my mom on the weekends, though, because she is elderly. And that takes a toll on me as well, because then I don't have the weekend to fully regenerate and this and that. So I do come home and go to bed. Okay, number 4. You develop hyper-receptive awareness. This could come off as intuition, but what it is you are reading micro expressions, energy shifts, and you are able to read the person or the room. And, words that people don't say. It's almost like you can read their minds just by reading their body mechanisms and body language. You are sensitive to their body language, and it can seem intuitive, but you are hyper aware of every nuance of someone and are able to read their thoughts through reading their body language. I have done this, I think, my whole life. It comes from, some trauma in my childhood where you read every nuance of your situation, of your life around you, of people around you, in order to stay safe. And so throughout the years, I have fully developed this along with my intuition. And I can just read the room. I can read energy. I can read micro expressions. If, somebody's eye twitches, I pretty much know what they're thinking, but also my intuition comes into play with this. So this is something you can develop and read about. And there are books out there that will help you develop your body language reading. Number 5, you crave meaning over everything else. And personally, this is true for me. And this kind of goes back to, surface layer conversations. You are psychologically incapable of living inauthentic lives. This is me. I know if something is not authentic, and I buck up against it. And it goes with personal integrity too. When you step out of this alignment, you experience emptiness. That sense of betraying something essential, that quiet desperation. And I know for me, if I'm stepping out of alignment and maybe, floating to the surface or whatever, it's like it just doesn't feel right. There's this sense that I need to get back to where I was. You become uncomfortable and your psyche rebels against inauthenticity. And this is, going back to reading people, and, when people might tell an untruth or they're just not being their authentic self. It's very difficult sometimes, and you just want to dig in and help direct them and send them toward the light. But we have to do this incrementally with some people because they're just not ready. But if you are interacting with them, that means that somehow at a deeper, more unconscious level, this person is being activated and they are ready to make those incremental changes. You become evolutionary catalysts for human consciousness, helping to awaken them in higher meaning. Number 6. You've outgrown people and environments repeatedly. And I have said for years, if you are not systematically letting go of people or situations, then you are not growing. You shed layers of conditioning that no longer serve you. Once you've made the step, you can't return to conscious conformity. And this is true. Anytime you've stepped through a door, you can't go back. Now, when I was working through a lot of really deep issues that were just shutting me down years ago, I thought, man, I've lost it all. But really, I was just covered in all that mire and crap that I was wading through, which made me stronger. So, I have stepped through many doors already, and you can't return. You just have to keep working through stuff. You need, I already said that about systematically letting people go. Okay, number 7. You create transformational presence. Doesn't that sound fantastic? You hold spiritual space for others. Maybe you've already sensed this, where they just need to talk and you just hold space, or you can tell that someone is really working through some issues and they just seem upset and this and that. And so you can just energetically and psychologically and spiritually hold that space for others. You don't listen to words, you perceive underlying emotional states. This goes back to reading people. You don't rush to judgment. You remember that this person or these people are a soul living a human experience, and they are here to work out their issues. You create space for truth to emerge. You help people to find their own truths. And that's what I live by, is truth. This level of presence is a form of psychological healing. The key here is to learn discernment and your boundaries, or you could exhaust and deplete yourself. A lot of people think that if they have this gift, that they have to be on and help people all the time, but sometimes they get roped into and then they're manipulated and just taxing themselves. And I have learned boundaries throughout the years. I have learned to say no, and this is assertive. Otherwise, you are being passive in someone else's life and drama. And you don't want to be aggressive and bully, but be assertive with your boundaries and who you are. And then that helps others to learn boundaries. This just happened to me the other day at work. And I said, you just overstepped. And she said, no, I didn't. It isn't like that. And I said, it is exactly like that. And hopefully that helped her to learn a boundary, because she just clearly overstepped and put me in an uncomfortable position that I didn't even want to be in or set up to be in. She was just trying to push an issue so that, I could be there for her. And this just wasn't right for me. And hopefully she learned from it. I think she did. But I was not going to, say, oh, that's okay. When, innately I was like, no, you just trampled on a boundary. And that puts me in a bad position. So, okay, number 8. 8, the final point. You sense a purpose that can't be defined yet. And I remember probably 30 years ago it's been, or so, when I started opening up to, there's got to be more. This situation doesn't feel right. And I started questioning, where is this taking me? And I had, children in grade school or seventh grade and fifth grade. I had a husband. I was working as a designer. And I was just like starting to open up. And then little by little, I started making changes. And then it was probably, it was 2008 when I started my spiritual massage school that I really opened up and started understanding more and making the change and knowing, you know what? I have these gifts and I have direction now, even though I had to back up a few times and, go on the lighted path. Not that I was on the dark path, but I just really opened up and knew, hey, why am I here? I've got this meaningful purpose. What is it? And let's find out. And so I did, and I realized that I am here to help others find their truth and help them move on in their path. And I am a healer, and I do help people to heal themselves. I don't ever say I healed this person, because what I do is facilitate their healing by tapping into their own potential and needs and help them heal themselves. Jung said, "Your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart." And this is so true. Sometimes, our mind and heart are connected, but we have to step out of our brains and into our hearts and say, what is this feeling? Where is my heart guiding me? But you need your brain, you need your actual mind through your brain to help facilitate this movement. He also said, "Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens." And so, we can look outside of us and see maybe what someone else has, or what we want, what the potential for us is, but we're dreaming. And if we look inside and tap into our minds, then we can make it a reality. If you feel a persistence that you're meant for something more, you feel it, that restless knowing. And that's like me. I wanted to absorb every book I could find, even on quantum physics, spiritual help books and all kinds of things. And I just wanted to know everything. And then that helped direct me as to, this doesn't feel right, but this does. And it helped to guide me. You don't have to take everything you read as gospel, but it helps define what it is that is your truth and what it is that you deny and say, no, that's not right for me. Because what is right for one person isn't right for another. And there are so many people out there that want to come to the same conclusion, but in different ways. And so this is your chance and opportunity to find your truth and what feels right for you. Living in harmony with your deepest nature. Okay. When you realize you're not here to be in service to yourself, but to serve the evolution of consciousness itself. And for me, I am here to help the collective consciousness. I am here to help people raise their awareness, their spiritualism, their psychological nature, and their vibrational levels. I am here to help people find their truths and to guide them. Even in my healing work, I help guide people. And, when I was doing massage, I didn't want them to have to come back if I found, what I did a lot of times was help people to stretch and find what the problem was and help them to understand what it is that they can do to help work out that kink and this and that. And sure, I welcome people back, but I wasn't going to say, okay, come back next week. I just wanted them to understand their own body and what was going on, and at a deeper level where maybe they fell as a 7-year-old and kind of tore a muscle that would grow back onto the bone a little differently. I helped them understand their bodies and their minds and help them to learn and grow with their own abilities. So that's the 8 signs described to have you develop your psychological complexity that allows you to see, feel, and understand levels most people never reach. So if you found yourself in these 8 or even part of them, I am so thrilled for you. It's good to know a guideline and, so that you can help work toward this. If you don't already reach all the 8 or any of them, but know that there's something that you understand in this. Okay, I appreciate you joining me today, and I would like you to help me go out and change the world. Okay, I'll see you next time. Have a good day. Bye-bye.